and welcome to my keto kitchen. I'm Victoria. Today I'm going to show you how to make keto rolls that are going to double in size. They're going to rise when you break them. That's my oven. When you break them open, they're going to be soft and fluffy. I promise you. There is a secret ingredient in here that you have to get this to rise and to act like a roll, okay? So let's go ahead and dive in. If you can't tell, I'm so excited. I'm out of breath. So let's get started. Okay, so step one, we need 1 1/2 cups of my keto milk. I'm gonna link that video right here. That's what we have to have first. And in this container, I have already combined 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, 2 tablespoons of inulin. If you don't have inulin, it's a sugar-free way of activating your yeast. You can use sugar, and don't panic because the yeast are eating the sugar, okay? They're eating the sugar that's creating the gases, that's helping our foods to rise. So we're not actually eating the sugar as long as you let the yeast and the milk set out for at least 10 minutes. You have to give the yeast time to eat the sugar. So I'm using 2 tablespoons of inulin. You can use 2 tablespoons of table sugar if you still have it in your house. So that is going in this milk. I'm going to stir it up. I'm going to put a rag on top of this, and I'm going to set this in the corner for 10 minutes. Okay, now what we're going to do while that yeast is setting and activating, we're going to mix up our dry ingredients. And this is where I'm going to tell you what the ingredient is that you have to make this recipe create an actual roll, a soft, fluffy ball of bread. Okay, so step 1, we need 3 cups of Victoria's Keto flour. And I get asked all the time, are you using the almond flour or the einkorn? If you go to Victoria's Keto flour recipe, it'll say 1 1/2 cups of almond flour. At the bottom of that recipe, it will say you can also substitute the almond flour for whole wheat einkorn flour, which I grind myself. It's the same amount, 1 1/2 cups of almond flour or 1 1/2 cups of einkorn flour. They act so very similar that I don't always say which one I'm using. It depends on what was in my pantry at the time, but it's the same recipe. They react almost identical. I do find that sometimes I get more of a fluff out of the einkorn, and my family prefers the flavor of einkorn over the flavor of almond flour. And the carb difference is if you use almond flour, it's 3 carbs per cup. If you use einkorn whole wheat flour, it's 10 carbs per cup. So if you're wanting to stay on the low side of keto, stick with the almond flour. If you don't mind having a few extra carbs, which if you think about it, in one typical cookie recipe, it's 1 1/2 cups. That's 15 carbs, and I usually get about 13 to 15 cookies, so that's still only 1 carb a piece, even if I'm using whole wheat einkorn. That's somewhat of an explanation, but this is einkorn based. I have 1 1/2 cups of einkorn instead of almond flour in this mixture. For those of you that will probably ask me, that's the answer. But almond flour, it works beautifully. I mean, pretty much identically. So whatever way you want to go about it, you're going to make a beautiful fluffy roll. So that was 3 cups of Victoria's Keto flour. To this, you need 1 tablespoon of baking powder, because something we need to understand is you're not going to get the rise from the yeast. The yeast is giving us our flavor, but we are not going to get a rise from the yeast because this Victoria's Keto flour is loaded with fiber, right? Fiber. And it does not have the gluten structure that regular bread flour has. So in order to get this to rise, you have to do it quickly, and it has to be hot. So that's why we're using baking powder to get this roll to rise. And the reason I'm explaining my way through this is because there's a lot of roll recipes out there that are gluten-free and keto, but I want you to know why mine's working, what is doing it, so that you have a little more information than just follow this recipe. Okay. To that, we need 1/4 cup of sweetener. If you're going to use allulose, that's actually okay in this recipe because we're baking it at 325. I prefer xylitol. I say that almost every time I use it. I love xylitol. This is my favorite keto sweetener. But if you don't want to use xylitol, you can use erythritol. And what happens with erythritol? Erythritol will recrystallize. So anything that you use erythritol to make on day 2, or maybe 8 hours after you bake it, you're often going to get a dry or harder result than the first few hours, because of erythritol, it's recrystallizing. Xylitol does not do that. It helps your biscuits to stay soft. It will help them to rise. I love xylitol, but you can definitely use erythritol. You can also use allulose. Allulose is not as sweet as 1/4 cup of xylitol. Xylitol is the sweetness. It's equal to sugar on the sweetness level, so it's a 1-for-1 substitute. Okay. Right here, I have 2 ingredients. One is 1 teaspoon of salt. You gotta have a teaspoon of salt for your bread. And I also have 1 teaspoon of what I'm calling my secret ingredient to make a roll. And that is this right here. I will link this in the description box below. This thing is making miracles happen for me in my kitchen. And let me tell you why. This is cognac gum. It's also called glucomannan powder, just 2 different names. I'm gonna link this exact one in the description box below so that you can look at it and purchase it if you're interested. But if you are going to get a roll like what I am going to get, you need 1 teaspoon of cognac gum or glucomannan powder, okay? This gives the dough a little bit of an elasticity, and I can feel it. I've made a batch of dough with it and a batch of dough without it. The batch of dough without it, when you hold that dough, it's not elastic. Like when you go to break it, it just kind of breaks in half. The dough made with cognac gum, this glucomannan powder, it has a stretch to it. Now, I'm not saying you can stretch it like slime. It's not like that. But you can feel the stretch, and then when you squeeze it, it's almost like a stress ball. You can feel. It's amazing, okay? This needs to go viral and all these different keto breads. You need cognac gum, glucomannan powder. I'm going to say it over and over so that those of you that see it, if you go to buy it on Amazon and you're just confused because it's got different names, but there's no confusion if you just open this link. It'll be in the description box below. You just open this link, it'll take you right to it. This is cognac gum. This I am adding. Now here's what's very important. When you add cognac gum, you have to add it to the dry ingredients. You have got to mix it well, okay? It's the idea of xanthan gum. It's the idea of xanthan gum without the slime, but with the stretch, okay? However, I have been playing with it with xanthan gum, and something magical happens when you put the 2 together. Just saying. Some pretty interesting things have been happening in my kitchen, but I had to share the roll recipe because we went through them yesterday. I don't know how many I made yesterday. I made a big batch yesterday. I think I have 3 left. So, and my family's not keto, but they loved these rolls. So, sorry that was so long, but I love to teach. All right, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to let it mix itself for a solid minute. And look at this. This is what happens. This has filled up the cup. If you can tell, my milk mixture stops about right here. The rest of this is yeast. Okay, here we go. Now, this is fully mixed up. It is mixed up very, very well. Now, we're going to add the liquid ingredients. The first thing we're going to add, I'm going to pour the milk into the mixture. And I want to scoop out all of the yeast. Next, we need 1 egg. And lastly, we need 5 tablespoons of melted butter. And mix it up. Perfect. Now remember, we're not dealing with gluten, so do not be shy. Mix this very well, okay? For this, I needed to roll my sleeves up. Now, I have my flour. What I love about glucomannan powder is, as you see, this is very doughy. It's not going to dump out, but it's It's way more moist than a cookie dough. So it's between cake batter and a cookie dough. I'm going to flour my hands. This is what I love about the glucomannan powder, is when you do this, even though it is a dough, I can pass it back and forth between my hand. See that? That is so neat. So I'm gonna lay it in my 9x13. I'm scooping it out. Look at this, see? And as long as I keep just a little bit of flour on my hand, I can mold this. It is so, so neat. Cognac gum. It should be a new and coming ingredient for keto this year. Here we go. Okay, we did get 12 beautiful rolls. Okay, with these rolls, we have to cook them at 325 degrees for 30 minutes. While they're baking, we need to have 2 tablespoons of butter melted so that after the 30 minutes, we're gonna take them out. We're gonna put the butter on them. We're gonna put them back into the oven, 325 for 15 minutes, okay? This is the deal. We wanna cook them low and slow. We want the inside fully baked. We want them to rise. We want them to be nice and have a nice brown crust on the outside, but we want the insides fully cooked. So 325, 30 minutes, take it out. We're gonna put melted butter on it. 325, 15 more minutes before they are finished. So I'm going to begin that process and I will show you each step of the way. Okay, here we are. We have some keto rolls. All right, I am going to bring one close to the camera, open it up for you. I'm gonna burn my fingers, but I'm doing this for you guys. And the other thing I wanted to say, depending on how brown you want your rolls, I did 350, you do it for 30 minutes, butter the top. Then you can do it 15, 20, 25 minutes, depending on how brown you want the top. And something I wish I had done that I did not do is when you put the roll in your hand, roll it into a nice smooth ball and then set it down. Don't do what I did, dump it on your hand and then put it in here. Roll it in a nice ball. You will get a much prettier roll. I wasn't thinking, wish I had done that, but I didn't. But I am going to bring this roll close to the camera. I'm going to open it up for you because I need you to see the inside. I hope that was good because that burnt my fingers because this thing is so hot. Oh my goodness, it is so good, y'all. This is a roll, okay? It is soft, it is light, it is fluffy. This is not dense thanks to the glucomannan cognac powder, okay? Yes. Perfect. Perfect. This is a keto roll. This is not a biscuit. This is not dense. This is light, airy, and fluffy. And it's just amazing. I mean, this is, I'm gonna dip it into the butter. It's so good. Wow. I thank the Lord for this recipe. This is extra. This is extra, extra good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you love this recipe. Please, if you make this, take pictures. Please go over to Facebook, post it over there in Victoria's Keto Kitchen group. Let people see what you've done. Let people see what it looks like. Tell people what you think about it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And I hope you all have a blessed day.